A U.S. federal appeals court has allowed the administration of former President Donald Trump to continue deporting migrants to so-called third countries. Normally, migrants who are deported from the United States are sent back to their countries of origin, but under this policy, migrants can instead be sent to another country that agrees to receive them, even if they have no previous connection to that country. Let's break down what the court actually decided and why it matters and what could happen next. Let's watch these clips and then I'll come back with more comments.
Court ruled that the Trump administration can in fact move forward with deporting people to third countries or countries for which they have no connection or ties to. The government was trying to deport several people to South Sudan, a country for which they have no connection or ties to. That process was stopped temporarily. These men are in Djibouti, waiting for an outcome with this case in federal court, based on the fact that the court believed these men should have a reasonable opportunity to argue that they might face torture or persecution in a country that they're being sent to that they have no connection to. Litigation, of course, is still ongoing, but what this means practically, friends, is that the Trump administration can quickly deport these men as well as other people who are stuck in a limbo, so to speak, in which their country is saying, their home country is saying, we don't know you, we're not going to issue a travel document, we have no proof that this individual was in fact born here and is a national of our country. What will happen now is that the Trump administration can quickly deport people in that very scenario to another country. I'm covering all things related to Trump immigration changes. Follow for more.
Monday, an appeals court gave the Trump administration the green light for now to continue deporting illegal immigrants to countries other than the ones they come from. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit stepped in with a 2-1 decision to temporarily pause a Massachusetts district judge's ruling from February 25th. That earlier decision had found a March 2025 DHS policy unlawful because it didn't provide enough due process notice. The policy applies to migrants who already have final removal orders and allows them to be sent to third countries that agree to accept them, based on diplomatic assurances that they won't face persecution, sometimes with as little as 6 hours notice. The policy was mainly intended for cases where a migrant's home country refuses to accept them back or when the United States cannot easily return them there. Critics have argued that the policy could send people to countries where they might face danger and that migrants were not given enough notice or time to challenge being sent there. Last month, Senate Democrats released a report saying the administration had spent more than $32 million in taxpayer money to encourage other countries to take in about 300 deported individuals. The countries mentioned in the report include Ghana, Rwanda, and Eswatini. A federal judge first ruled that the policy was unlawful, saying the government had not provided adequate legal protections for migrants before deporting them to these third countries. The government then appealed the ruling, arguing the policy was necessary to enforce immigration laws and manage cases where deportation to a person's home country was not possible. Attorney General Pam Bondi celebrated the win, writing, quote, "There is more work ahead of this important issue, but this is a key win for POTUS's immigration agenda. The Justice Department attorneys will continue fighting tirelessly to advance and protect President Trump's policies in court." The final outcome has not yet been decided, and the case could eventually reach the Supreme Court of the United States for a permanent ruling.
Supreme Court delivers a huge victory to the Trump administration today. Today, the Supreme Court just handed President Trump a massive legal win. In a 6-3 decision, the justices ruled that federal courts can no longer issue nationwide injunctions, a legal roadblock that lower courts were using to obstruct Trump's executive orders before they could even be enforced. Now, this decision includes the controversial birthright citizenship order, which aimed to deny automatic citizenship to children of illegal immigrants. The lower courts had frozen the order nationwide, but now that power's gone. This ruling states no more one judge halting the entire federal government. Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote the opinion, joined by Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh. Liberals on the bench, they dissented. So in translation, Trump's executive power was just defined, and the liberal courts just lost basically the only weapon that they had. This is a massive reality check in how presidential power works. Trump's back in charge, and the courts can't stop him like they thought they could.
So this court decision doesn't permanently settle the issue. It simply allows the policy to continue for now, while legal challenges move forward. Supporters of the policy argue that it helps the government manage large numbers of migrants arriving at the US border. Officials say that in some situations, deporting migrants directly to their home country can be difficult due to diplomatic issues or refusal from those governments. So instead, agreements may be made with other nations willing to accept migrants temporarily. Supporters say this strategy helps reduce pressure on the migration system, speed up removals, and it discourages illegal borders crossing. But critics strongly disagree.
You guys want to hear something super embarrassing for us? The Trump administration has closed refugee processing for refugees from all around the world, except for white South Africans, Afrikaners, who he says were experiencing a white genocide in South Africa. So he opened the doors to these refugees from South Africa, and now over 1,000 of them are repatriating to South Africa because they hate it here so much in Trump's America. They don't even want to stay. It turns out they actually don't need protections. I mean, we could have told them that. And also, what an embarrassment. What a joke.
Immigration advocates and legal groups argue that sending migrants to unfamiliar countries could create serious safety and legal concerns. They say migrants may not have enough time to challenge their deportation or even seek asylum protections. Some legal experts also argue that the policy could raise due process questions under US law. That's why the policy is currently facing court battles. So because this was an appeal court decision, the legal fight is far from over. The court will continue reviewing the case, and many analysts believe it could eventually reach the Supreme Court of the United States. If that happens, the final ruling could shape US immigration policy for years to come.
So it seems like deportations to third countries will continue. A federal appeals court has temporarily allowed the Trump administration to continue deporting certain migrants to third countries while a legal challenge proceeds. The ruling came across the U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit, which stayed a lower court's decision that blocked the policy. This means the Department of Homeland Security can continue deportations to countries other than a migrant's country of origin. For example, let's say a country will not take back the migrant that illegally migrated to our country. That creates a problem for the United States. So this allows us to send that individual to a different country. These removals often involve destinations such as Mexico, Guatemala, or other nations willing to accept the migrants. Immigrants' rights groups have challenged the policy in court, arguing that migrants may be sent to countries where they could face persecution or torture without sufficient legal protections.
So, immigration remains one of the most debated political issues in America, especially as the country heads towards another election cycle. Court decisions like this can have major policy impacts, which is why the story is trending across global news platforms. And depending on future rulings, the policy could expand, change, or be blocked entirely. But what do you guys think about this decision? Do you think that country deportations are a practical immigration solution, or do they raise serious legal concerns? But what do you think, guys? Do you think that country deportations are a practical immigration solution, or do they raise serious legal concerns? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you want more clear explanations of major global news stories, make sure you hit the subscribe button to join our family and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next update. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.